Well, I'm excited that you guys agreed to meet with me, and I'm super stoked that you'll be able to share a little bit about Forest Hill School District's story, because I think you have such a powerful one. And so what I'd really like to do is start out with maybe just getting you to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about the district, especially through the lens of a connected learner. So Carrie, why don't we just start with you, and then we'll just kind of move across. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you see yourself as a connected learner and how that role supports connected learning in your district.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carrie Herod, and I am the Instructional Technology Specialist for our district. I've been doing this for 7 years, and as Cheryl said, it has been really quite a journey for me personally, but I think also for the district. I'm responsible for much of the professional development surrounding digital technologies, and I would say my kind of journey with being a connected learner probably started right at the very beginning. But it really got going when we had many of our staff members participate in PLP, which is Powerful Learning Practice. That was really where I began to understand the true essence of being a connected learner, and also I would say the power of being a connected learner. From there, and I guess as part of that, I started on Twitter, and I can easily say that that was life-changing for me. And between both of those, the PLP and Twitter, it shifted my entire notion of what it means to be a learner. And so as we have moved forward, we've really been exploring that way of learning and what that means for our entire district, and really how to start shifting those paradigms of our teachers in the district. Okay. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Natasha Adams, and I've been part of this journey along with Carrie. And I have to say, you have to have people in your life like Carrie Herod or Cheryl Nussbaum-Beach or Will Richardson who really just put the thoughts out there that get you getting to start thinking differently. And these people, that's what you represent in my life. That's how you can begin being a connected learner, start wrapping your brain around it. So my role is currently the curriculum director of this district, but I started down my journey with Carrie as the principal of Naval Middle School. And what we did really in our school was to model the thoughts of the PLP, where you're really immersing people in a connected learning environment, that you're kind of learning to move beyond being a lurker and just taking information and becoming somebody who can be part of the conversation, people who can start to share. And so we learned that one of the most effective things you can do is get some people who are willing to take some risks, who will put their toe in the water and start living in those environments, sharing and developing. And then that interest and that excitement really just grows. And I feel like that's what's exciting about our district, is that we've started small. We started with those early adopter people, help them to become connected learners and be inspired by people in their lives, make connections on Twitter, and really just start living it every day for their own personal learning as modeled in PLP. And then that can really extend to their students, because the one thing that we have had here in Forest Hills for a long time, we've had a technology-rich teacher world. We've had an environment where the teacher is fully equipped with projectors, with tablet PCs, and they can really do a lot. But what we were noticing as we looked around is that our kids were just kind of observers of that technology-rich world. They were not having that same experience themselves. And so one of our first moves, really, once we started wrapping our minds around it, was to start a Bring Your Own Laptop initiative, so that we could model that technology-rich world for our students, or expand that to our students, not just with teachers.
So BYOD, from what I hear you saying, Natasha, really made a huge difference in
it really
the shift,
did.
taking you to the next level, like?
Yeah, it opened our minds. Nagel was a school that always had technology. We were very fortunate, rich in tools. We could go to the lab on Tuesday, schedule it, and use it. And pockets of people all over the school really did take advantage. But that was all about a planful moment. It was about teacher-directed. And the Bring Your Own Laptop initiative really put power in the students' hands that we had never seen before. They were making choices, making decisions, and even teaching the teachers things that just really didn't come out in conversations in classrooms. That was one of the most amazing things, is to see how a kid could own their learning when we gave them the right tools and the keys to that. And before, we were probably controlling too much of it.
Gotcha.
Well, and I would absolutely agree, excuse me, with what Natasha mentioned. And I'm coming from a little different perspective as I didn't come into Forest Hills until 2010. And before that, I probably would have considered myself a connected learner until I got here and I realized I was a disconnected learner. And so, I thought that reading the magazines and just reading internet articles was being a connected learner, but I was just a consumer. And then actually, Carrie really helped to open my eyes to being a connected learner. And I was probably more of a traditionalist when I came. Everybody should have the same device, the same way. Everything should be delivered in the same way. You want to have equal environment so that teachers can teach in a more uniform way. And, we kind of had the little come to Jesus where she's like, that's exactly the opposite of what we want. We want personalized instruction. And she really spent the time with me, helping me understand that that's not what this is about. Twitter, I always thought it was for the celebrities, and I'm a little embarrassed to say so. But once I really started to use it professionally, it had such a profound impact on me, and I felt like I was able to, in an accelerated way, improve my professional development in ways that I couldn't have done in my previous method of trying to develop myself.
And I think I want to mention this, that while we have had teachers, small pockets of teachers that have been on this journey with us, I cannot emphasize how important it is for leadership to understand this, because it is such a paradigm shift that if there isn't a deep understanding of connected learning, you have a tendency to, as everybody's making decisions about what needs to happen with the teachers, they tend to be in somewhat conflict with each other. And so what we've managed to do up here is to really start bringing the leadership into the same spaces of understanding, and that's really important for us.
That's good. So it's almost like, sorry, Natasha, it's almost like connectedness online, of course, but also connecting more within your building, having those important face-to-face conversations. Christine, I don't think you introduced yourself and talked about your role, so why don't you do that?
And then great point. I'm the IT director, which, and obviously for the district, but I would say as far as being able to get an IT director for a district that wants to go down this road, if PD is done in separation from the IT director or the person making the decisions about the technology itself, to me, that's doomed for failure.
Oh, why? Why do you believe that?
Because I believe we're not buying the technology that supports what they're trying to achieve.
Oh, good
and
point.
Those two things need to be married. I need to be having the same vision and the same goals and working in unison with them to really make this work.
So what is your last name so that they can hear you introduce yourself?
McCormick.
That's great. That's good. That's wonderful. Because people may listen as you speak. Well, as you speak, I'm thinking there might be other IT people that really want to connect with you. So that's good. So Natasha, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to feed off what Carrie said about bringing the leaders along. Something that we were very intentional on from the very beginning is kind of thinking about a triangle, bringing the teachers, the educators together with the parents and with the students. And that has been a huge key to our success, because when we started down this venture and we were saying we're going to have 7th graders bring laptops to school, people could only imagine that they were going to use it to take notes. They really could not see beyond that. And people didn't want to invest in such an expensive item if they could just do it on paper. And so there is a long journey on educating parents, and we've learned that the best people to educate the parents are by bringing them in and letting them see the student work, letting the students talk about it. It is absolutely fascinating to hear them kind of share their way of learning, because when they come to NAGLE, it doesn't replicate the experiences they had in elementary. And when they contrast how their learning has changed, and they talk about it in such a way that shows their connectedness, because now it's no big deal to Skype with Iraq in the middle of the night, because that's how you know you can get to people there, or calling MTV through a chat room to find out how that industry works. Our students started realizing, I don't have to just go through the teacher in this room. I can connect myself and reach out to people, and I don't have to go through anybody to do it. Now, obviously, you have to teach students how to do that safely and responsibly, but that was the amazing thing. The walls of NAGLE started coming down because people were connecting, not only with students in the hallways, in classrooms from the top floor to the bottom floor, but beyond our city, beyond our state and our country.
So let's kind of go from Nagel and some of the shifts that started taking place. And I know you speak from personal experience there, having been the leader. Now that you're in a curriculum leadership position, I'm curious. I mean, your district has been leading the way for quite some time now. You were first to the space with BYOD and a lot of the other initiatives that you've done. Can you guys kind of fill in the gaps and tell me a little bit about the journey of Forest Hill School District and how you got to where you are as really being one of the leaders that are leveraging both the informal kinds of social learning experiences, but you're bringing it into the district and you're making it part of what you do formally in professional learning. So kind of, if you would, fill in the blanks for me a little bit and tell me how you guys got to where you are in terms of, and really where you are. What are the cool stuff you're doing?
Well, it still begins to me with people. And when you have a dream like Carrie Harrod has, and that as she shared and it has become infectious throughout our district, that makes all the difference because it has to start in the heart. It's not about a bunch of equipment that we are blessed to have in our district. And so that's kind of the beginning. And then it takes a matter of us looking at every collaborative structure we have. When we're meeting face to face, are we using the tools of technology, the tools that help us connect beyond the expertise in the room that we can actually bring into the room? And so we've really looked at every collaborative structure from a curriculum team meeting, from how do the third grade teachers collaborate, to how do we connect our two high schools together, and starting to find ways that you don't always have to be in a room. We have to make virtual spaces available. We have to create creative opportunities that really inspire people to innovate, think differently by bouncing ideas off of each other. And it's kind of infiltrating every piece of collaboration that we have. We're taking a look at it through this lens and how we've learned by reaching out to others.
So,
Well, and I would add that one of the things I'm highly interested in is kind of reimagining what professional development should look like in a district. And what I had a big aha moment this summer, which was that the importance of creating professional development opportunities for teachers that closely mirrors what we're asking them to do in the classroom. So when I conduct my professional development, I might Skype in some experts that I've met through my PLN because they might know better about the topic that we're talking about. It might be blogging, a teacher that's blogging in the classroom. And so I'm really trying to shift my way of thinking about that. In addition to, do we always have to be face-to-face? We created something called the Forest Hills School District Learning Series. And what I do is I write a proposal through Ashland University where teachers can receive graduate credit both for the face-to-face work and some of the online work that they're doing. I am still trying to wrap my brain around how you credential that and how, the accountability factor of teachers going to webinars online, and how do you track something like that. I think probably many school districts are thinking about that. But we are on our way to trying to understand that we need multiple pathways, even for teachers, because they also are unique learners in and of themselves.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So what you're actually doing is not only are you doing what Natasha said, where you want to make sure that you have these virtual spaces, that everything you do, you as leaders are owning it and you're modeling it for the teachers and showing them how it's done in the way that like what you were describing, Carrie, but you're also creating these spaces, and then you're trying to actually credentialize the informal learning experiences that they're getting when they're not with you, as well as how now that you're bringing those informal in, and it's just part of business as usual, it's becoming the formal kind of learning experiences you do as a faculty. Do you think you'll go with badging? It's great that you're doing graduate credit, but in terms of like connecting CEUs, are they given credit for what they do on their own? Or is it only when they're with you in more formal kinds of PD ways that they get credit?
As a curriculum team, we're continuing to really think about real-time learning. Like, you don't want to wait till September when we have the PD planned if you need to know something now. So we're really looking at being very intentional about on-the-spot options that you can do in your PJs at home at night, and then when we need to come together face-to-face as a district, and really looking at being intentional about that. And that's something I think we've been kind of, just too casual about. And that, I think, will evolve. The badging and the credentialing will kind of evolve as this comes together, because teachers' time is very valuable. And just because we're having a full day in service at the district doesn't mean that's the only time you can learn about something. we want to be able to extend and enrich opportunities for teachers to help them dig in further. And I think the way we do that is by incentivizing them and building a culture and climate around here that really celebrates innovation and taking moments. I think about the PLP, where you go off and you study a topic that you're really passionate about, that action research, really teaching teachers how to dig in and study what's important to them, that obviously connects to improving learning, connects to our district's strategic plan and what's good for kids, but that it's inspired and personalized to what really makes that teacher tick, what drives them.
Well, and I might add, and this did not come from me, I wish I knew who had said it, but I loved it, was that for me, I do not want professional development to be an event anymore. I want it to be an attitude. I want us understanding that the world is vastly different right now. It is moving at warp speed, and that if we're, as educators, going to keep up with those changes, it cannot just be on that PD day. That we really have to help the teachers to understand and instill in them this desire to truly find other ways to connect to people from all around the world.
So here's the difference that I see, and then I really want to hear, Christine, how you support it from the IT end of it. But
Sure.
the difference that I'm seeing is a lot of people talk a good game, they believe that, they want it, but you guys are actually doing some things about it. And so, like you said, Natasha, you want to incentivize teachers to be able to learn, be self-directed learners, and then bring what they learn back to the district so it'll inform practice for everyone, and how you're collaborating and sharing that. So I'm wondering, in a lot of districts, when they start moving in this direction, they'll play the filtering game where it'll be unlocked and then it'll be locked back down, and then it's unlocked and then another keyword will lock it back down. How did you guys especially to bring your own device, and I know you're doing some really interesting things around coaching and that kind of stuff. How did you figure all that out so that kids aren't being kidnapped and taken to Siberia, and that parents are comfortable and that kind of stuff?
Well, every time we would get to a place where we would find a barrier that we were like, okay, we're scared because it's not safe, or this there's a financial barrier. Every time we would hit that at a district meeting or at somebody's table, it would go back to, we've got to do what's best for kids. We've got to prepare them for their world and for what they're facing today and in the future. And so every time that's very motivational to us. And so we continue to have those conversations. Even before we logged on with you today, we were sitting here having them. It's not perfect, but you do have to have a willing group of leaders who will take some risks, because this does take risk taking. It takes trying out and being transparent along the way to saying, hey, we don't have this all figured out, or we're willing to try, and we need your input, we need your involvement. Because it's easy to hand out computers and just say, use them. And we want to make sure we're modeling and practicing in this and making it part of our life, because you can't just announce one day, you all need to be connected learners. You have to have multiple exposures to it, and until it really, if you get bitten by the bug, and it really changes how you think and how you do your work.
Well, I think it also goes back to everybody says this, but that it truly isn't, the technology isn't in the center of all of this, that it really is about learning and the type of learners that we need for the future. But even beyond that, just what we know about learning today, and that the traditional system just really is not going to meet their needs, and that it's the digital tools that can help to support the ways in which we want students learning, to personalize their learning. And so we just continue to work on that. And I think in terms of the filtering, for me, it's always been that what better place to help students to understand that world out there than in the safety of both their homes and their schools. And so that when they graduate, they understand how to be safe and responsible and ethical online.
So Christine, that sounds like herding cats. I mean, I'm listening to from having an IT background, I'm listening to their dream and the kinds of things they're doing and the risk taking, and that they're putting devices in the hands of the kids, and it's not standardized. It's not a one size fits all kind of approach at all. It's very messy and all over the place, and they're enabling teachers to become empowered, and they're thinking about how people learn, which is very divergent. So how does someone who is in the field where traditionally standardization means ease of use and less mistakes, how do you support the infrastructure and the things that you're doing in a district that's saying, yeah, that sounds great, but that's not doable, that's not scalable? What would you say to them?
I would say from my perspective as an IT director, as far as the spectrum, I would say I'm more liberal in my approach to IT. Whereas, like Carrie said, we want this to be a safe space for them. I feel like we should allow them to take some risks. If we go down and do not filter something and then feel we've had too many problems, then we block it. We certainly, have the state minimum filtering. We have that. But for teachers, for instance, we were able to, with our filter, unblock it so teachers could get to YouTube. Teachers could get to Facebook and other ways so that we aren't impairing their ability to connect. We wanted to make sure that they could do those type things. We can certainly unblock videos if it's something they want to show, different things like that. We do a lot of different things. I mean, we always make sure IT works. That's like a minimum for an IT director. Secondarily, we do something at our school called district endorsed software. And as far as professional development and being able to target, basically what district endorsed software is, it's software that's available to everyone or within a range in which it's appropriate. So that way, our professional development team could be very well versed and support those things which encourage all of the, there's a lot of social within it, but almost all of, in fact, I think all of them are cloud-based. That's how we allow kids to bring in different devices and we can still be successful.
So talk about that with a little bit more specificity. What do you mean by cloud-based? And if I'm a district that says, okay, I'll go there, what is it? How do you do it?
Well, what that means is we don't want students to have to install anything to use what we use. We are a Google Apps district, which what that enables us to do is students don't have to install Microsoft Office to be able to create content. And not saying all content has to be done in a word processor, because obviously I don't believe in that necessarily. But Google Apps is via the internet, or what I call cloud-based. We use things like VoiceThread. We use Digo. Schoology is our learning management system. In fact, Schoology has probably been one of the most integral parts of being able to make BYOD successful, because it's the one common thread you can get all teachers to be able to do at a minimum. And it kind of gets them started in understanding how those types of tools can be used in authentic ways.
Good. Sorry about the phone ringing there.
Okay.
That's the one thing about this this kind of stuff. It's spontaneous and it's real and it's as it's happening, isn't it?
Sure.
So I guess that's on your end now, right? You guys have a phone.
Yes,
Yeah, that's great. So everybody wants us. So do you have any plans to participate in Connected Educator Month? And formally, are you supporting your faculty in that? And are you going to use it, any of the activities as a way for them to get, credit, or tell me about how you're planning on doing Connected Educator Month.
Well, this being the second year, we did a little bit with it last year, and we're really excited about the second year coming up. And it actually fits in absolutely beautifully with the direction that the entire district is taking, and starting to get the staff to use tools like Twitter and hashtags. And so we're really looking forward to including Connected Educator Month in our learning series, so that some of the activities that are offered during that entire month could possibly go towards teachers getting, credit for it, graduate credit for it, so they can put that up underneath that learning series.
Oh, that's great.
So
tell me, the learning series takes place the whole year?
Yeah, what I do is I write a proposal for, say, the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. And so anything that falls underneath that learning series that I have placed up on the website, teachers can go and do that, and they can include that as part of that credit. Then during the summer, I write a separate proposal, simply because we do some different things during the summer. And again, teachers can, there's some online things, there's face-to-face workshops. And so I'm just looking forward to having these opportunities from Connected Educator Month, because again, it will offer those multiple paths for teachers to really start investing in their own learning.
So what I hear you saying is that it's not, that because it's diversified and it's multiple pathways to get to the kind of learning that I need, that you don't really think about, okay, this is connected. It's just, this is the way we do it. This is just these, we might use a crayon, we might use a pen, we might use a pencil, we might connect with somebody in Iraq, kind of stuff, right? Is that just kind of how it is? That's pretty cool. So what lessons learned do you guys have in terms of, if a district's going to make this shift and they're going to really start to think about how they can become very supportive of faculty, even taking some of the informal learning they do and formalizing it, what lessons learned do you have along the way, or recommendations, or what direction would you point them in maybe a, do this, then do this kind of a step by step program? Anything there that you can tell
Well,
me?
I think we are very much build it and they will come kind of people, where we kind of go big or go home, where we don't have everything figured out before we start doing it. And then that's not always the case. Some people think, well, we've got to make sure every teacher knows how to do X before we put a computer in their room. And we really didn't take that approach. Our hope is to go to these big places. So just one instance is we started changing what our media centers look like. We changed the furniture, how you could arrange furniture to be collaborative, how you could connect with people through a Skype session, how you present inside of the what we call now the Learning Commons, and just changing that space then changes the behavior. And so that's what I mean with you have to build it and they will come. You change the environment, you change the mentality, and people will come along. It's just a process. And you have to be patient. You have to be willing to take some risks.
But I'll echo what I said earlier. Those types of things cannot happen at all, as far as I'm concerned, until your leadership understands what this is really all about, until they are connected learners themselves, or at the very least, you have some core people that understand connected learning and therefore can help other leaders understand it and lead the way that way also. You can't even truly imagine what this looks like until you've invested time in understanding connected learning. And that's really where the shift belongs, because, we have added lots and lots of technology, but if we're not changing what our perception of learning is, all of that equipment will mean nothing, because we'll just keep doing things the way that we really always have done, except that it'll be digital.
So what I hear you saying, Carrie, is that a learner has to really own it before they can give it away, that they can be motivated as much as they want to be motivated, and they can say, here, teachers, go forth and do great things, but that nothing's really going to significantly change culture-wise until they're not only owning it and supporting it, but doing it themselves. And that way they have a deeper understanding. Is that kind of...
Absolutely. And I think it does have to be intrinsic. And to be honest with you, the people that I've seen in our district who truly have gotten it, it has reinvigorated their love for teaching, their love for learning. And that, for me, is really exciting to see in the district.
One of the challenges with the new era of education and all of the mandates and the way we evaluate teachers, the way we evaluate schools changing, that instills a lot of fear in people. There's a lot of people wanting to be cautious in a time when we need to say, take some risks and collaborate, connect with others. Don't draw close and hold everything in tight. You got to reach out, and so that's really what we try to promote here. It's not easy, and it takes every day, like making the good fight and knowing that what we're doing is really what's best for kids.
Are you, Natasha, an open leader, do you think? Are you transparent?
I think I can grow in that. I really can. But truly, I am a learner first. And that's one of the things that, again, back to PLP, is that you got to put yourself in that seat of being a learner. That experience changed my life and how I think about things, how I lead, how I learn. And I try to model that for others. I do share it. I think I still can grow. Every year, I want to do better. I want to do more. I want to be more free with sharing with the world. In my district, I think I am pretty transparent, but I think I could grow in that and go bigger.
Okay. So, Christine, final word. What do you think? Lessons learned?
Well, the one thing I would say is try to surround yourself with passionate people that have similar beliefs, because that passion is contagious. And when you have the right people in the right seats, things happen.
All right. So as we close, the one thing we didn't touch is how have your parents handled this? Because usually they push back and say, heck no, And so how have you educated your parents along the way, or have your parents just been really accepting?
I just want to say, and then I'll let Natasha kind of field that question, but I want to say that for me, that was the biggest surprise that I didn't anticipate. And that was how essential it is to help parents understand this beforehand or while you're going through it, because it is so different. It isn't how most of us were brought up. And so if you don't bring them along with you, what you'll be doing is constantly fighting it, because it is such a cultural shift in your district. specifically?
Well, and I mentioned the importance of this. We take some steps forward, we take some steps back. I mean, it's definitely a journey. One of the most powerful things that we did early on in our experience is that we set up an experience. It was called Camp L, standing for Conversations About My Personal Learning. There was a time where we brought parents to the table, students to the table, and teachers all to the same table in a conference-y kind of format where people could pick their own path, learn about the things they were interested in. And it was amazing. You know, the only time as a teacher or a principal that I had seen parents and students at the table together was maybe at a parent-teacher conference. We never really put them in the learner seats side by side. And so it was quite impressive for that moment to happen. And that kind of started something big. And we've kind of been rolling from it. So that was pretty amazing. Another thing is that we've brought parents in who can kind of tell the story of how their seventh graders' life has changed because they used to be a hot mess in terms of organization. They couldn't turn things in. They didn't know what was going on. And this, because they're ADHD or whatever, and just having this tool and these processes brought to their life changed their way of learning. So it's through testimonials. It's through getting people to the table, just seeing examples of what do we even mean by connected learning or bringing your own laptop to school. What do we mean by that? And then putting them right in the same seats as we are learning along with us. I think that has brought us the best bang for our buck. And again, I think we could always do a better job at it. We need to do more. Christine did a lot of work this summer in educating just through like email blasts, really, to talk about why you would want your student to be involved in a learning process like this, what the future is, what the future holds a bit, and what we're preparing students for. And truly, based on our results of how many people are bringing in laptops, that has even made a huge impact. So you can't message enough. You can't provide examples and models enough to be successful. And you cannot leave them out. That is for sure. They have to be a part of it.
All right, good enough. Thank you so much for sharing with me the bit about parents. I just didn't want to leave before we did that. I appreciate all that you shared. I know it'll be very beneficial for other people who are trying to find their way on the path to where you are. And go forth, do great things. I'll see you guys in Connected Educator Month, okay?
Thank you.
Sarah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.